Welcome everyone to the Money and Me podcast. My name is Harsh, and in this podcast, you get to hear some of the most insightful interviews from the experts around the world. And for the same today, I have a very special person by my side. He's the founder and the CEO of the Divi project. His name is Nick Saponaro. So, Nick, first of all, a very warm welcome to you. I hope you're doing fine as you're looking just fine. And take like 30 seconds to give us or extend this introduction so that viewers of this podcast might connect with you just better.
Yeah, thank you, first of all, for having me. Really excited to be chatting with you this evening for me. I believe it's morning for you. So it's always great to see. Yeah, my name, of course, thank you for the introduction. I'm Nick Saponaro. I'm the CEO, co-founder of the Divi project, which is essentially a cryptocurrency and blockchain startup that has had the goal of creating a more accessible, easy to use, decentralized finance system. We launched back in 2017 with our token sale, and we launched our first products in 2018. And we actually created the first and still only one-click masternodes, which allow people to earn cryptocurrency at the click of a button. I got into the space about 6 years ago now, 7 years almost. Time flies. And much like a lot of others, I was just a speculator at first. I had heard about Bitcoin long before I invested in it, of course, just like many others. And a friend of mine actually got me into Ethereum. So I was fortunate enough to get into that pretty early. But getting Ethereum initially was pretty interesting. I actually had to meet someone out at a mall near my house, trade them actual cash for Bitcoin, and then went and used that Bitcoin to buy my first Ethereum. So pretty interesting way of jumping into this space. Of course, after being a speculator for a while, I wanted to learn more about the technology. I'm a developer by trade, and that's kind of where I began to dive deeper into what the technology can be and what it can do, and all of the powerful things that are afforded by this technology. And eventually, I was brought onto the Divi project, actually as the lead web developer. And over time, over the past 4 years, I'm now become the CEO.
Well, that's really great. And your professional life has been quite diverse. You have been a web developer, you have been the CIO in the past, and now you are the CEO. So how is like this diversification is affecting your professional growth? And I would specifically like to know how did you actually enter into the skeptical world of crypto?
Yeah. So first of all, I really had heard about it probably almost 4 or 5 years before I even invested in it. A buddy of mine, when I was much younger, called me and told me about Bitcoin. He said, "Oh, you have to get into this Bitcoin thing. It was $1, and now it's $6." And at the time, I probably had about $6 to my name, so I couldn't really invest. So I kind of brushed it off at the time. Then later on, about 2 years later, I was building computers for a living. It was my job to build computers, and we got a lot of clients that would come in and ask for, or email us and ask for, mining rigs. And I didn't really know what a mining rig was at the time. I was just building the hardware, but I dabbled in it a little bit actually back then. And unfortunately, like many others, I tossed that hard drive out, and who knows where it is today. And it probably had a little bit of Bitcoin on it. But I just didn't think much of it initially. Eventually, as I mentioned in the beginning, somebody came to me and told me about Ethereum. It sounded interesting. I still didn't really understand what crypto was or how it was going to impact my life or the lives of others. But I jumped in. It worked out really well. And that led me down the rabbit hole. And I started reading a lot more books and eventually started developing in the space.
Yeah. So I was saying, now I quite much understand how did you end up into the space of crypto and how did you get a hang of it. Now I'm more interested in knowing how did you actually end up into the Divi project, and what did you find so specific about Divi project that you like selected it to invest yourself into it?
I was actually just finishing up school. I was taking a course in software development at the time. And toward the end of that course, a buddy of mine, a mutual friend of one of the other co-founders of the project, reached out to me and asked if I wanted to develop a website for this coin that they were developing, this new blockchain. And I was, of course, looking for jobs coming out of school. So I accepted the job, especially because it was an interest of mine. I had already been reading about and investing in cryptocurrencies for a couple of years at that point. So um, I jumped at the opportunity. When I saw what the idea was, though, I became incredibly interested. The idea that we could create or make this complex topic easier, I thought that was a great way of generating adoption for a technology that I saw as revolutionary. So I started contributing my ideas. They were still writing their white paper at the time. Basically, all they had was the name of the company when I came in, and so I started contributing ideas, some of my philosophies around crypto, and some of the things that I'd read, and they liked my ideas and they offered me the opportunity to become a co-founder, and I was ecstatic. And yeah, ever since I've just been working on this project.
Well, you have just, really great point. And it is good for the viewers who have the entrepreneurial mindset, because you have just dropped, a very great point about what you should see while selecting a startup to invest yourself into. Now I kind of understand about Divi project, but I would like you to throw some more light on it so that we can understand it into a certain depth. So please take your time to explain us what is Divi about and how does it work in the backend.
Yeah, so we really have and have had one philosophy in mind from the beginning, and that's to make crypto easy, which is easy to say that, but it's much harder to actually do. So the first thing that we saw as a major pain point, a major point of friction in the space, was actually beginning to earn cryptocurrency. So we thought, let's start there. If we can make earning cryptocurrency easy and accessible, then we can probably build a big network and start to work on making the other aspects of cryptocurrency easy as well. So in 2018, we launched our Masternode one-click cloud installer, which we call Mochi for short. And it's still to this day regarded as the easiest way to set up a masternode and start earning crypto. You can do it at the click of a button from a computer and now a cell phone, and you can also stake with Divi. So you have two ways of earning that have a very low barrier to entry, because we set up our masternodes to have multiple tiers. So you have 5 different layers or points of entry at varying levels of income. And that allows more people to get in at varying levels. From there, we started to see opportunities throughout fintech. You see, the whole financial ecosystem is really fragmented, and the value chain of not just crypto, but traditional finance as well is just scattered all over the place. You end up with 10 different apps in a folder, and you have to use all of them in different ways. We thought, let's consolidate all these things in one easy to use package that's familiar, that can allow people of any background, any demographic, to quickly jump in and start taking control of their money. And that's what we've done. So last year we launched our mobile wallet, which allows people to stake and earn rewards with masternodes, as well as send and receive multiple coins. So we're not just Divi maximalists. We believe that many coins will exist in the future. And right now we support Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and of course Divi. We'll be adding a lot more coins here in the near future. So that's kind of the philosophy behind what a lot of companies are starting to lose sight of, is that we 100% keep everything decentralized. So in the wallet, your keys are your keys. Your coins belong to you. We never custody them. We never touch them. They're 100% you.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. You have said about staking with Divi. Would you like to throw some more light over it?
Yeah, so staking with Divi allows pretty much anybody with, right now it's a minimum of staking vaults that's going to be enabled in your cell phone. You can stake with any amount of Divi, even one Divi. So this allows more people to earn, of course, their rewards with cryptocurrency. It's very simple. As long as you're running a wallet, you're staking, and you have enough coins in it, of course. You're staking and you're earning those rewards. I think right now, and you can check like stakingrewards.com, the APY is about 25%. And that's very attractive to a lot of people. So we've built a really, really strong network where over 60, probably closer to 70% of the coins in our ecosystem are actually allocated to either masternodes or staking nodes. So we have a very, very secure and robust network.
Okay, that's really great. I kind of understand these terminologies, but now I would like to move on to the next question, which is about what is this algorithm trying to solve? Like, just like your slogan is, we are making crypto easy. So, what else are you making easy in the fintech sector?
So if you check out our mobile wallet, which is just released in the US right now, but it's coming to India soon, as well as Europe and some other places. Um, there's a lot of what we call like quality of life features. So when you log into the wallet, when you first onboard, you're not met with a long seed phrase right away. You're not met with a lot of jargon right away. It feels like an app that you've probably signed up and logged on to before. You have biometrics to secure the wallet. You can, of course, set a PIN. You also see usernames, avatars. You can search by phone number, by email, those types of things if people enable those features. The beautiful thing is, though, you don't have to enable those features. So if you do prefer to remain anonymous and private, completely private, you can. But this familiarized experience gets people into the ecosystem without feeling like daunting, like they're met with a lot of challenge. From there, you can go in and start staking or earning with your master nodes. You can send and receive, as I said. In the very near future, you'll be able to swap your coins at the click of a button, as well as purchase cryptocurrency and sell it with your credit, debit card, or bank account.
I completely resonate with you because I have myself personally experienced this because complex UIs just destroy the user experience sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. So there is like an interesting thing going in the blockchain industry right now. Like the 2019 hacks, there's an ongoing, Polynet hack, which is worth 612 million USD. So how do you think now blockchain hold this credibility as an unbreakable code?
Yeah, the Poly network hack exposes something that is probably something that a lot of people don't want to talk about in the space, which is there are multiple layers to each blockchain, right? So you have the layer one protocols, which are like Ethereum or Divi or Bitcoin. Those are layer one protocols. They are the blockchain layer. Those are what really are the most secure. Once you start adding additional layers, of which smart contracts are an additional layer on top of a blockchain, you're met with additional security and attack vectors, right? So what we saw with Polynet was insecure code being exploited by a bad actor. We don't even know who the bad actor was. And really, the story here is about how we can work to protect the user, right? How do we secure our smart contracts? This was a smart contract that's not published on Etherscan or anywhere that can be audited. It probably wasn't audited before it was deployed, although that's speculation. And so, of course, it was exploited by a single party. So it actually defeats the purpose of decentralized finance, even though it was a DeFi contract, because you end up seeing a single key is able to drain this entire thing. It definitely does hurt the credibility of crypto overall, especially because most people don't understand the deeper fundamental basis of how this technology works. But ultimately, it's up to the developers, of course, to ensure that their users are safe. That's why I said in the very beginning, with Divi, we ensure that everything's decentralized. We never touch your coins. There is no central key that I can just unlock everyone's money and take away, right? And that's all auditable, externalized, and it is audited by third parties all the time.
Okay, that's really nice. And just last month, Jackson Palmer, the founder of Dogecoin, tweeted about the crypto industry is it as being shady and badly decentralized. So, do you think the Polynet hack is just strengthened that statement?
You could make that argument, I think, but there's a lot of things that went into what Jackson said that were not necessarily completely, in my opinion, on point. Yes, I think that this particular incident and some incidents around the centralized nature of some of these protocols and exchanges and things like that exposes the fact that there are bad actors in this space. But if we adhere to the tenets that crypto is supposed to be built upon, which is decentralization, these things shouldn't really be happening. It's just a matter of maturity. The space is 12 years old. Ethereum's only like 6 years old. Smart contracts are still being developed, and we're still learning a lot about how this space needs to operate. So yeah, there's going to be some casualties of war there. But ultimately, I know it's just another step toward becoming a more mature space and learning a lot more about how we need to develop these things, you know?
Yeah, yeah, I kind of understand it. Now, we have talked about the Polynet hack stuff and 2019 hacking and everything that's going on in the blockchain industry. So, how do you think that we should approach these problems in the terms of regulations and the security? And I would like to specifically know about how Divi is implementing security, as you have like talked about it in the early phases. But I would like to explain. I would like you to explain a bit more about it.
Yeah, I mean, security is absolutely paramount, in my opinion, to the success of any technology. And, you know, these things happen even in the traditional tech world. Hacks happen on a daily basis due to insecure systems, lack of auditing, everything that's been mentioned throughout this chat. It's really a matter of making the concerted effort toward creating technology that is safe and secure, because that's really what's going to build that consumer confidence and bring more users into the space. So what we do is quarterly we have security audits by a third party. Most of our code is fully open sourced, and we ensure that before anything goes out to the public, especially when it comes to money, it is seen and tested thoroughly, and any security flaws or vulnerabilities are resolved. Um, a lot of times you do see companies kind of, I guess, skipping steps, cutting corners, because security is expensive and it requires time. Time to market is really important in crypto. People want to get things out quickly, but I think a pragmatic approach is really the key to success, and we'll see that more and more as time goes on.
Kind of understand. I'm kind of understanding you what you said, but I'm still quite skeptical about how Divi is implementing it. Can you just take 2 minutes more to like explain it a bit more?
Yeah, so to dive a little bit deeper, we use, of course, all of the standard military grade security and cryptographic methodologies in order to secure any information that goes to and from the app. All of our apps work in this way. Of course, you're running on top of a blockchain that is inherently cryptographically secure. We have a coin allocation to our network that far exceeds 51%. So the risk of a 51% attack is quite low, if not impossible. And then, of course, like I said, all of our standard security practices are looked upon by other security professionals to ensure that we're actually implementing them in the proper way. It's just about being as like I said, pragmatic as possible, trying to be proactive about your strategy, your security strategy, and implementing the best practices. We have biometrics, of course, PIN codes that secure your account, and of course, everything's backed up by your seed phrase, which is probably the most relevant or contemporary cryptographic method of security that we have, at least in the modern age.
Okay, that's great. Now we have talked about hacking and stuff, Jackson Palmer's tweets, all the shady stuff. Now I would like you to throw some light over the positive side, the positive influence that crypto is creating, and specifically how Divi is intending to eradicate the problems of people worldwide.
Yeah, so you see a lot of beautiful things happening in crypto. Obviously, there's the aspect of financial inclusion. You have a lot of people in this world that don't have access to the traditional financial services that a lot of others do. Crypto kind of changes that. It allows people to have, in some sense, a bank account, their own bank account. They are their own bank, so to speak. You see a lot of life-changing money being made, people that are able to completely change their lives. I'm included in that. Before I was with Divi, I was a broke student. I was, trying to make ends meet writing websites for people. I got into this project and things changed a lot for me. And that's happening every single day in crypto. But even outside of just the personal financial gain, there's a lot of beautiful philanthropic things happening out there. and they're not all distributed or contrived by the companies or by big individuals. It's communities. Our community actually goes out there, and we have a community in Venezuela where every single week over 300 people are actually fed. It's mostly elderly and children, fed because of Divi. They're able to use Divi. They have a circular economy within their town where the grocery stores accept Divi, the merchants accept Divi, and they actually use that to to buy and cook food for their entire village. Out in Africa, in South Africa, we were able to provide 100 bikes to 100 kids so that they could get to and from school during the pandemic when they didn't have transportation. Lots of amazing things like that are cropping up all over the world, not just within Divi, but within many, many communities. That wouldn't be possible without the empowerment of cryptocurrency. And that's why I feel like it's such a revolutionary technology. Yeah, you have a lot of things that are maybe negative about the space, but you also have the complete flip side. And that's really, I think there's more of that positive going on than these, of course, little or sometimes big instances.
Yeah, so these are some really great noble practices that Divi and other firms are doing worldwide. And you also touched a great point about blockchain and cryptocurrency providing employment or good life to many people around the world. Because I have met many people. I've met numerous people who are like, blockchain technology is new and we are still learning it, so it doesn't provide you with much of future. So that was really a good point that I liked about it. Now, I would like to know your views over the U.S. taxation system that U.S. government is trying to pass over the crypto revenues. It is trying to tighten the policies over taxes. So what are your views over that?
Yeah, this was an interesting event that happened here in the United States. For those that don't know, if you weren't following, basically there was a big bill, a big law that was looking to be passed by the Congress of our country. I almost said company, which it kind of is sometimes. That basically is, they call it an infrastructure bill. They want to generate a bunch of money and put it into roads and schools and things like that. In that bill, they wrote, and it was about a 2,000-page bill, they wrote a small little provision that would allow for the definition of a broker to extend across basically anyone participating in crypto. And that includes people mining Bitcoin. That includes people running staking nodes. It also includes software developers and, of course, the exchanges and things like that. This was a dangerous provision because in many cases, or in basically all cases, almost none of those people are actually brokers. And in this definition, they would have basically forced all of those individuals and companies to begin collecting data on their customers and reporting that data to the IRS, which is our tax body here in the United States. That was a dangerous thing because, first of all, in many cases, it's literally impossible. If you're mining Bitcoin and people are contributing transactions to a block you mine, you have no ability to know who was participating in those blocks. And this law would basically make you go out and find those people and report their tax liabilities. It's not possible. It does make sense for centralized exchanges like Coinbase, Kraken, and things like that. And those companies are already doing that. They're already issuing 1099s and things like that to their consumers. So that's kind of what was happening. And that's why it's dangerous. But what's interesting about this was that the debate held up all of the proceedings in our Congress for like days. It was pretty incredible because for the first time in history, cryptocurrency was taken so seriously and there was so much support for actually writing the law in the proper way that the entire bill, the entire law process was halted 4 days, which was a great monumental moment for us. Unfortunately, the bill did pass with the language that we preferred it not to pass with, but that's okay because there now are years that have to pass before all of those laws actually come into effect. So we have time to fight back and change that before it actually goes forth. But really importantly, this bill, in my opinion, is actually kind of good for Bitcoin and good for crypto overall because they being the government want to essentially print $1 trillion out of thin air to pump into our economy and pump into infrastructure and things like that. And once the bill passed, the very next day, they wanted to introduce a new bill that would also print an additional $3.5 trillion. So up to $4.5 trillion that this country does not actually have, that's going to be printed literally out of a printer. That causes inflation. That causes, really, it's one of the best narratives for cryptocurrency that exists, because you end up with a declining economy, a declining trust in the dollar, and higher consumer pricing. And nothing could be better for Bitcoin than that, because it's a better store of value. It does increase in price. It's not inflationary. So I think overall it will end up being a net positive for crypto.
Okay. So taxes have been there since ever, since the financial system have been in the marketplace. So I would like to know your views throughout these years. These new financial systems, these old financial systems are going hand in hand. So what are your views over that?
I think that ultimately that's kind of what has to happen, sort of a hybrid ecosystem. That's kind of what we're trying to build with Divi, is a hybrid ecosystem that does enable the traditional world and the digital world to fuse. And by doing this, I think we move in the direction of ultimately the world we want to see with digital assets, where we can use digital assets just like we use our cash in our bank or in our hand. It's going to take time, though. And I think that we have to kind of work in lockstep with the traditional world in order to make this happen. If we're constantly fighting them, and we're not taking an approach to our compliance strategy and looking at the laws in each country that we operate in, it's only going to extend that process and make it harder for us to operate and get to the point where we want to be. So, I mean, that's my philosophy. I'm sure others disagree and would just go gung ho against the grain. I don't trust, in these banks. I don't trust necessarily in the government to federate finance anymore. I don't think a lot of people do, but I think that they're still going to be there. They still do control everything. So if we don't work kind of side by side, we're just going to be pushing uphill against a big behemoth.
Okay, that's really great. And do you know about the PSG football thing that is going on right now? After the announcement that Messi is joining the PSG club, the price of PSG token like skyrocketed from 20 in USD to 55s in USD. So how do you think this Messi effect is gonna take PSG token?
Well, that's really, an interesting it's really an interesting event, right? You have one of the best players in the world joining this, and seeing an actual increase in an asset that he doesn't necessarily control, right? Maybe owns some of it, whatever. I think this is just the beginning, right? We have to see more of this. I think it's really interesting to see clubs and bigger organizations taking cryptocurrency seriously and utilizing it to help, increase their bottom line, do bigger marketing things, and bring in better players. So, I mean, this could just be the beginning for that.
Yeah, like other cryptocurrency firms bringing in players or like other influencers into the crypto industry and trying to get money out of it.
Yeah.
So there are like meme coins and price hype going on in the crypto industry. So with these things in place, how do you see we are going with the current trajectory in the industry? And also, I would like to know your views over, do we need to go back to the basics, the founding principles of crypto?
Well, I'll answer the first thing first. So the meme coins and the hype. I mean, there's always going to be hype in the world. I think it's important for investors to understand the fundamentals of cryptocurrency. The meme coins, they're fun. They bring people into the space. They bring a lot of attention to the space. But they are just that. They're memes. They're jokes, right? So they don't necessarily hold the same value that something like Ethereum does, or Bitcoin, or Divi, or whatever, where there's fundamental value. I do think that that bubble will pop eventually. All the dog coins will disappear, and then another trend will start. Right? There's always something. It's cyclical. I do think that to an extent, we should be focusing more on what makes crypto important in this world. Meme coins, these little Ponzi schemes and stuff like that. They're really just commercialized ways to enrich the people at the top. And that's not what crypto's for. Crypto's for bringing financial freedom to everyone everywhere. So at least for me, my philosophy and my company's philosophy, and honestly, I share this philosophy with a lot of people in the space. It is, you have control of your assets. You have a decentralized access to your assets, full control, aggressive ownership, however you want to put it, based on a decentralized blockchain that can be run by anyone. So yeah, I mean, there's a bit of a divergence, but I think the real builders in the space will become clear. Right now, we're in a bull market, right? So when things calm down, you see kind of the jokes disappear, and the fundamentals come back into the forefront.
Okay, you have also touched upon the financial freedom with crypto. So how much of it do you believe like youngsters can come into the crypto industry with this mindset? Like, do you encourage that?
I encourage learning a lot first, especially if you're young. There's a lot of opportunity there, and there's a lot of things that you could lose money on. Not every coin, not every NFT, not every DeFi protocol will make you money. So it's important to understand what you're investing in first. Getting that knowledge is so important. I jumped into crypto without really knowing what it was, and I saw it go up and down, and I didn't know why. But then when I started reading, I started to understand the impact that this technology could have. For us, right? I'm 28, I'm almost 30 years old. I'm building stuff in this space, but the kids that will come into this space next, they're going to build things that we couldn't even possibly imagine. They're going to build the future. So I think it's just important that while it's fun to jump into some of the meme coins and things like that, it's more important to understand how meme coins are built. How does the smart contract work? How do blockchains operate from a fundamental level? Starting there, you can definitely make life-changing gains, but you got to start with the books.
Okay, that's really profound. And it was really a nice session with you. I have enjoyed like every minute of it because it was really, informational for me and insightful for me. And I'm kind of sure that all the viewers watching this podcast are as much as satisfied as I am. So, and most importantly, Nick, I would like to know your views. Like, how did you like enjoy this session?
I had a really great conversation with you. I really appreciate you bringing me on. And I know that we only had so long to chat. So if there's anyone watching, or you want to reach back out to me, we're on social media at Divi Project, Telegram, Discord, all that stuff. So happy to chat. We're always open, answering questions 24/7.
To all the viewers, as he said, the link for the Divi Project social handles will be in the description. And I thank all of you for joining us in this podcast and for the similar experiences, for similar podcasts, for similar insightful interviews. Make sure you subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like and share this video. And I would like to thank Nick for joining, for having us. So thank you, Nick, again, and thank you to all the viewers again for watching this. My name is Harsh, Money and Me podcast, tuning out.